He lived by one rule. If it was there for the taking, take it. The world owed him that much. It's Saturday. It's time for Saturday Shorts, and we are back with two today. The first one is called Survival. It is from volume number 4, Adventure Stories by Louis L'Amour. Book was published in 2006 of a collection of his short stories. It was put together. Obviously, the story probably predates that, but I have to give credit to Kevin Judge 8406. He is the one that put me on to this story, and I really enjoyed it. And so let's dive right into this story called Survival. This tale is about Tex Warden, who makes it back to land after being capsized as a seaman on a ship, the ship Rarotonga, and it capsizes near the equator, and he makes it back to shore with a couple survivors. He's beaten, battered, tired, starving, malnourished. But once he makes it ashore, Tex's troubles only kind of just begin. He's put in front of men in suits that want to know an account of what happened and what took place. And he's kind of, I wouldn't say put on trial, but he's put in front of a hearing, a committee. And there's definitely one person on the panel that is part of the boat's manufacturing and wants to make sure that they're ensuring no liability. And so that's kind of the premise of the story. What makes it really good as a short story, I really like the character of Tex. I think he's a believable character. When he's ashore, he's in awe, from others. Like, you were on that ship, I heard about that. How did you survive? And he's always constant saying, it was my job. I did my job. And Tex is a very broke person, and he's wanting to make a go of it and have his own ranch up north. And so it's hard not to pull for this kind of underdog character. And so I really found him kind of fascinating. When he's confronted at the board, we get to see kind of the depths of Tex's courage and what took place as the ship was capsizing, with all the people in a panic, and how he took charge. And in his lifeboat, he was the only seaman from that ship, and so he is the only one that knew how to do various things like row a lifeboat, to manage the rudder and try to take care and take charge of everyone in the ship and do what's best for the majority. And so we also kind of encounter throughout his kind of being on trial, we get to see an account of what took place as he's kind of telling the story in the afterward. And so I really thought it was interesting. He ends up saving a known actress at the time. Her name was Hazel Ryan. I thought that was kind of an interesting throw in by L'Amour. But there's definitely a lot of different themes that are touched here. You have triumph against adversity. You have man versus nature with the storms and the wreckage and how they are dealing with it. And then it's 8 days before they see land and make land. And so the fact that Tex says, I rowed for 40 plus hours and his hands are just broken and battered and just blistered and everything else. And it was really gritty and believable and just encouraging and heartwarming. In terms of anything I disliked, no, I think it's a great sea story. I really enjoyed it. In terms of rating, I gave it a 4.1. I thought it was a really solid short story. I think overall, L'Amour again proves not only he can write Westerns, but he can also write survival and adventure stories. And this kind of seafaring story just showcases the fact that earlier in his life, he spent time abroad on ships. And so he has some familiarity with the vernacular and some of the things that could go wrong, especially in this story. And so I really enjoyed it. And I want to thank again, Kevin Judge 8406 for putting me on to this. It was a good one. And so moving on to the next one, I went back to Dean Koontz and Strange Highways, his collection of short stories. I went with the short story Snatcher. This was published in 1995. It's a real quick horror thriller kind of story, and I really enjoyed it. The summary is we follow the main protagonist. His name is Billy Neeks, and he's a purse snatcher, and that's what he is. And so we get to see Billy in action, but when he kind of is on the course of his day-to-day purse snatching routine, we find that he takes one purse too many, especially when he accosts an old lady, and he gets more than what he bargained for, not only at the old lady, but the purse that he steals. And so I thought it was really interesting. What makes it really good is definitely the character. Billy is a small-time thief, a purse snatcher, but we get to kind of see him operating at first and kind of get to know that he's this very decrepit person, not very nice, low sense of morality. And it's interesting, we kind of get his little setup and how he steals a couple purses here and there, and then he'll drive his car and go somewhere else in the city and steal a couple more. And that's what he does. And he likes to maintain his self-control of going and waiting and putting the purses in bags and shopping bags and then putting them in his trunk and not opening them until he gets to his safe haven, his safe location at his house. But we learn that, along with his morally corrupt character flaws, he also inherited a house that he kind of tricked his mom into entrusting to him and then kicked her into a nursing home, and he's never visited her. And so you get to really see how really poor of a character Billy is. The elderly woman was great. I thought the scene where Billy tries to snatch her purse and what transpires there, not only with her character, but what happens when he's running away and he looks back at her and she's smiling, I thought was eerie. And that's really where the story takes this twist. And so Billy uncovers an entity, a supernatural being that is held within this purse. And I'm not going to spoil it any more than that. And what transpires is really kind of otherworldly, and it is basically Billy's damnation for all of his sins, so to speak. Nothing about this story I disliked. I thought it was a great thrill ride. I just kept wanting to see what's going to happen, and I think that's definitely evident of a good writer. Other excerpts that I really enjoyed. For the first time in his life, Billy understood what it meant to be hunted, and he didn't like it. Another one was, it was just a purse, or so he thought, but as his fingers brushed its leather surface, a chill ran through him, and he was whispered a warning. And I thought that was really interesting as well. In terms of rating, I gave this one a 4.3. I thought Koontz knocked this one out of the park. I thought it was really good. Overall, I enjoyed this, and this is the second entry from this collection. I've enjoyed both of them. I think Koontz is definitely one of those writers that reminds me of Joe Hill, Stephen King. I definitely get those vibes, and I'm looking forward to reading more of his novels in the future. He's a really good storyteller, and I like the supernatural elements that he puts forth in this book. So that is my reviews for this episode of Saturday Shorts. I enjoyed both short stories. Again, shout out to my friend and subscriber, Kevin Judge, 8406. I really appreciate you putting me on to this Louis L'Amour short story. And if you all have other short stories that you would recommend, let me know. If I've got them in my collection, I will definitely put them on the list to check out. And I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will talk to you all on the next one.